Henshin go go, baby. What's good, guys? Yoku here, and you guys know what time it is. Why did I say you guys twice? I don't know. You gals, right? You girls, you ladies know what time it is. Henshin go go, baby. What's good, guys? Yoku here. You ladies know what time it is. Let's go. All right, I included everybody and them. We're inclusive over here. Regardless of all the fun jazz, because I had good breakfast this morning, I am gonna go over Dr. Ratio's light cone and whether or not I think or feel as though Dr. Ratio's light cone is gonna be worth it. Or in this case, because we're changing the title, right? Ratio is free. Is Dr. Ratio's light cone mandatory to make this character function at an optimal level? That's the best way that I could put this, and we're gonna go over that. I also have, thanks to Ant, I have a like the team-based calculations they were going over. Take these with a grain of salt, but I can use my own conclusive thoughts to get over this. Anyhow, hey, you. Yeah, you. You want to do some of that crazy stuff you just saw on screen? What about completely destroying an enigmatic deer god just like this? Then you should download Honkai Star Rail right now! It's this year's most critically acclaimed mobile strategy RPG focused on team-based combat and hot chicks! And I didn't just make this up. The 2023 Video Game Awards said exactly that. Explore a rich world filled with elements of discovery, myths, and legends blended into a sci-fi space adventuring story. You can explore the latest patch expansion up to version 1.6, featuring the best character in the game, Ruan Mei, a powerful, supportive unit that does way more than support a single character. She buffs the entire team! You want a strong speed boost while looking gorgeous? She does that. Need a little extra help breaking enemies' toughness meter? She does that too. Or maybe you want to penetrate the Joppa lady for raw damage. Well, Ruan Mei does it all. Version 1.6 comes packed with 2 brand new modes like Golden Gears or Pure Fiction, as well as a number of new events showcasing more of the new character's personality. If you want cool moments like this, brand new hot characters, and showing off super cool 0-second clearance in front of your friends, then download and enjoy Mommy Domination today! I mean Honkai Star Rail. Download Honkai Star Rail now via the link in the description or by scanning the QR code. And don't forget to use this exclusive code on screen to redeem 50 Stellar Jade. Log in now to get Ron May, but if you also log into Honkai Star Rail on January 17th, you'll receive a free copy of the new limited 5-star character, Dr. Ratio. All right, so we're gonna briefly go over Dr. Ratio because I do believe he's in the game currently. So anybody that gets to that point in the story, you should be able to play Dr. Ratio. I'm gonna get there today on stream, so if you guys wanna come watch that, by the time you're watching this video, I'm definitely live. Regardless of that though, we're gonna go over this now. Dr. Ratio, we have his traces here. We have, what is this? Summation. When Dr. Ratio uses a skill, for every debuff the target has, his crit rate and crit damage increase. This is the important one. I'm gonna call this A1. This one in particular is where you're gonna get all of your free damage, free crit rate, free crit damage, things like that. But from what we've already done and seen so far, you're gonna need, I think, 3 debuffs to maximize this. And that's what's gonna give you the max, I think. I'm not entirely too sure yet, but whatever it is, that's what you're going to aim for. That's why you're seeing people say like Ratio plus E1 S1 Topaz, because she's going to be able to put all 3 debuffs on the enemy by herself, or I guess together, her and Topaz. He puts 2 debuffs on the enemies, if I'm not mistaken, but obviously being able to put multiple debuffs on multiple enemies is probably what's going to make Ratio stand out the best. And then of course you have Silver as well. Silver Wolf is going to be able to help you put on those debuffs. Pela might help you put on some debuffs depending on what you get. So a lot of that is going to break down whether or not you need light cones in particular, because if a light cone gives you the crit damage or the crit rate that he doesn't get from his kit, and then it also gives you a debuff on top of that or a buff to yourself, that's what you're really looking for. You're not really looking for like, oh yeah, you got a 50% attack boost. That's probably not what you want. A2, Inference. When the skill is used to attack a target, there is a chance to reduce the attack target's enemy resistance for a certain number of turns. This is going to count as a debuff if I'm not mistaken. Like the way this reads, this should also count as a debuff. So that's 1 debuff right there from what Ratio is doing. I believe his technique also applies a speed reduction. It's like a domain expansion. It's not a domain, it's just you put a dimension on the field, right? His curse technique, and then he lowers the speed or has a chance to lower the speed. So effect hit rate is going to be something you want to build into your Ratio as well. And then deduction, when dealing damage to a target that has a certain number of debuffs or more, for each debuff the target has, the damage dealt by Dr. Ratio to this target increases up to a maximum increased value. Okay, this is good. That just means more damage, more debuffs, more damage, more debuffs, more crit rate and crit damage. So all around the board, he's increasing his damage, which is going to make him significantly stronger. This is the technique that I was talking about. that's going to reduce the speed of any one enemy, or any number of enemies, I should say, depending on who gets hit when you start the battle. And then we have the talent itself. The talent is pretty much his follow-up attack. This is what's really important to his kit. After using his skill, there's a fixed chance of launching a follow-up attack against this target, whoever gets hit by the skill, for one time, dealing imaginary damage. Each debuff the target has, the fixed chance of launching that follow-up attack increases. So for every debuff that the enemy has, it goes up. So that's why I say 3 is probably the key, because it'll probably start off like 33%, 66%, 99%. And then I guess if you want to guarantee it over 99, then 4 debuffs, but somewhere around there. More debuffs equals better. The target enemy is defeated before the follow-up attack triggers. The follow-up attack will be directed at a single random enemy instead. So similar to how Topaz and Numby work, whenever Numby does the spin ball, or rather if Numby is gonna spin ball somebody, but Topaz or someone else kills them, Numby will auto spin ball to anyone else that he chooses to do so. The ultimate, of course, I believe is also single target. It applies Wise Man's Folly, which is a debuff. Whenever Dr. Ratio's allies attack a target afflicted with Wise Man's Folly, Dr. Ratio launches 1 follow-up attack on this target. Folly can be triggered up to a certain number of times and only affects the most recent target of Dr. Ratio's ultimate. Unfortunately, what I'm reading is that this is not going to move in any other direction. It won't work like Numby's, and it won't work like his actual talent, which is pretty unfortunate. It does reset after every time you use his ultimate, but I want to know how long this is going to last, right? Like if it's like, oh, every 2, you only get 2 shots for using his follow-up, or if it's 3. Now we can jump into his actual light cone, which should be a piece of cake if I'm being honest, but I want to go over a couple things. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have some of the calcs that I want to go over, which is just like a rough reference of what the numbers are going to be looking at. Baptism of Pure Thought. I'm pulling this light cone simply off the light cone art alone. Ratio is just nice. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. Ratio is just nice. He a cool dude. Mental Training. Increases the wearer's crit damage by 20%. That's nice. For every debuff on the enemy target, the wearer's crit damage dealt, ooh, and more, 8%. 8 times 3, that's 24. 24% more. Okay, so 24% more crit. That's 44% right there. 44% crit damage. When using their ultimate to attack the enemy target, the wearer receives the Disputation effect, which increases damage dealt by 36% and enables their fall. Oh, okay. Wait. I know I'm the light cone connoisseur. I'm reading this. This light cone is really nice. Like this is a nasty light cone, bro. The defense reduction or defense penetration, right? I ignore your defense, and that happens by 25%. Whoever's hitting to enable that follow-up attack, the wearer, and then it also increases the damage dealt by 36% on top of that. Then you have a crit damage increase by 44%. So the chest, let's just say you're running the chest. The chest already gives you 64%. Then you have 44% increasing that. You have over 100% crit damage for free just by following the stipulations of this light cone. That's taking people's crit damage, which I mean, on average, right? On average for our crit damage is probably somewhere between like 150 to maybe like 180. So adding another 100% on top of it, maybe not 100% because you already have the chest piece more than likely, but you didn't have the chest piece and somehow you had substats that bumped you up to like 150 and you had a crit rate chest piece and then you added all of this, that 150 would essentially turn into 250. Like that's dumb. All right, I'm pulling this light cone. Personally, me, because I like big dick numbers. Me, I'm pulling it. I'm not saying y'all have to, but I'm telling you I'm pulling that. Let's look at, okay, we do have perfect timing. That's gonna be pretty good to pick up for people that don't have any abundance things. Landau's Choice, I like that light cone. And then only the silence remains. I tell you what, let's go ahead and look at all the other hunt light cones and then we'll go down the list of what I think might work. So we have In the Night, right, which is gonna increase the wearer's crit rate by 18%. This is cool, but I really don't think this would work out because you need that speed, right? That's a big thing about Zila's light cone, is having the speed increase, and the speed increase is going to give you, oh yeah, if you are above 160, then you get all this damage and you get this crit damage and you know your attack and skill increases. I don't think this is going to work out. And then next we have Sleep Like the Dead, right? Yeah, Sleep Like the Dead increases the wearer's crit damage by 30%. That's cool. Whenever the wearer's basic attack or skill does not result in a crit hit, increases their crit rate by 36% for 1 turn. This is okay. I feel like Sleep Like the Dead is one of those things where genuinely this probably would have been Yang Qing's best in slot, simply because of the fact that Yang Qing, even when he has 97% crit rate, he still doesn't guarantee his own crits. I mean, Zila kind of has the same issue, right? We have like an 80% crit rate Zila, and she still doesn't guarantee her crits. Next, we have Topaz's Light Cone, which is Worrisome Blissful. And I do believe this is his second best in slot, but this is also a signature light cone, so most players probably won't have this. Increases the crit rate by 18%, meaning that you can wear a crit damage body. Also increases the follow-up attack damage from this character by 30%. Very good. After the wearer uses a follow-up attack, apply the tame state to the target. stacking up to 2 times. When allies hit enemy targets under the tame state, every tame stack increases the crit damage dealt by 12%. So this would be good. Let's say that you happen to have 2 Worrisome Blissfuls. You could give him and Topaz Worrisome Blissful, and then it would work. I don't think you can apply double tame state though. That's something that I haven't tested. I don't have 2 of the light cones, and I never really thought about it until now, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think you're going to be able to like, okay, we both have tame state, which means you take 48% extra crit damage on top of whatever we're doing. I don't think that worked that way, but if it did, that'd be kind of cool. Next, we have Cruising in the Stellar Sea, which is probably going to be the one that a lot of people are looking at. Oh, can I use my 5-star free light cone? Maybe. Increases your crit rate by 8%, and then increases their crit rate against enemies with HP less than or equal to 50% by an extra 8%. So it's a conditional 16% increase in crit rate. It's still not enough, or it's still not as much as like 18%. And this is 18% raw, mind you. Next, we have Only the Silence Remains, which, oh, actually, you know what? Hold on. You know what, guys? I lied to you. That's my bad. Hold on. I take back everything that I just said. This is S5. I was looking at S1. I need to be looking at S5. S5 is 16%, and then the conditional is another 16%, which gives you 32%, and then it increases attack by 40%. I think this is fine. The crit rate alone, and then the conditional crit rate on top of that could help you out, but you would have to essentially plan around that. Like, let's say you had 70-something%, and then another 16% bumps you up to 86, almost 90%. That would be okay. And then you could work around that, right? Like you guarantee, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And then a 40% increase in attack is okay. It'll allow you to keep the damage orb and possibly not worry about a partner who's also going to increase your attack, but instead you can focus on increasing your damage. I think this is fine. So far, what I'm looking at, his light cone, Topaz's light cone, and then Cruising, S5 Cruising, probably what I'm going for. Now we're on Only Silence Remains, which at S5 increases your attack by 32%. That's cool. And then if there are 2 or fewer enemies on the field, increases where his crit rate by 24%. This conditional is like, for me, this is okay, but I don't know if I could say like, I would say this is his second best or free to play option. You know what I mean? Like a 4-star option. Obviously it's 4 stars, so it probably is his 4-star option, but that conditional where there are 2 or fewer enemies on the field, you got to work for that. I mean, maybe when you're playing MOC and then you get towards, because I'm sure they're going to rig MOC to be favorite towards Dr. Ratio in this next wave of MOC that we get. But in the event that they don't, and let's say we take current MOC where you have something like Kafka, the Mara Struck Soldier, and then he summons more Mara Struck Soldiers, and then sometime Kafka comes with her own soldiers to help her out and, you know, trigger her own passive. So when they hit the field, it's always more than 2 enemies. Like it's not just 2 elites or 1 enemy, 1 elite, and then 1 whatever. It's very weird for me to play around conditionals in this game because that conditional makes or breaks how you're going to build out this crit rate. Like having just enough crit rate to where when you get 24%, it bumps you over like 50 to 60% or even 75%, right? That could be something that I could work on. Like if you had 50% crit rate and then this, after adding this, would give you almost 75%, I'm fine with that. I think that could work out. Whether or not I could tell you to run a crit rate or crit damage body piece though with this particular light cone, probably gonna go with crit rate body piece. Next we have Swordplay, which to my understanding, he doesn't work this way. But you should be able to stack up these pretty fast, right? But this is just damage increase. So damage increase by 8%, 8 times 5 is 45. That's a 45% damage increase. That's not bad, but there's no crit here. He kind of wants crit. Actually, I lied. I'm not doing the math on that. Whatever 16 times 5 is, guys, that's what it is. It's fine. Okay, this is pretty cool. This is a lot of damage, which would allow you to essentially run an attack percent orb in the event you had more damage coming from everywhere else. Ron May, Bronya, Ting Yun, and you're buffing them up. You can give them an attack percent orb and then mitigate that so you don't have any diminishing values, but no crit rate, no crit damage. This is, I can't say that I would recommend Swordplay. We have subscribe for more. No, River Flows in the Spring is next. After entering battle, increases warrior speed by 12% and damage by 24%. That's cool. When this warrior takes damage, okay, yeah, no, just bro, delete that light cone from the game. That's such a stupid light cone. Return to Darkness, raw 24% crit rate increase. I like that a lot. After a crit hit, there's a 32% fixed chance to dispel 1 buff on the target enemy. We might need to look at Return to Darkness. We're gonna revisit this light cone, not for ratio, because I believe this is the battle pass light cone, right? So someone having an S5 Return to Darkness, you really had to commit to the hunt. Lastly, we can go over what Ant has here for some of the simulations, right? There's a couple different things in here that are here. I'll leave the link in the description as long as I'm allowed to. We can kind of look at this though as a little bit of a small basis in terms of what we might want to be looking for like raw damage. So Baptism, I'm not really worried about the damage numbers because that's just a simulation. It's you know, whatever, right? You're not hitting this. And but you can see if we're looking at it, Cruising in the Stellar Sea is your base 100%. and then it goes up or down depending on what you equip from there. Cruising is going to be the base. More than likely cruising is a base because it's free, everybody has access to it, and it's S5. 50% uptime on both effects, so half and half. That's your baseline. You have 100% damage. Swordplay S5 with 100% uptime, 2 stacks per turn, only good in long fights, and usable with Bronya is going to give you a 5% increase, roughly speaking, for your damage output. And then Worrisome Blissful, attack percent orb. I told you guys, right? You're going to want to attack percent orb because of the damage offset, especially useful in low debuff teams. This is going to work out with a 12%, almost 13% increase compared to cruising in the Stellar Sea for your damage. And this is going to be working really good with characters like Pela, Silverwolf, or whoever else is going to help you with welts. I wouldn't do that, but you can do that if you want to. Anyone else is going to help you with some debuffs. If May's stuff counts as debuffs, then that works out for you too. And lastly, we're going to have Baptism as Pure Thought, which is his signature light cone, and that's going to be bumped up a rough 23% damage increase compared to cruising in the Stellar Sea, using an attack orb, and then obviously good synergy with defense shredding, Pela, and Silverwolf, as well as adding some extra energy into this. I do genuinely think this is his best light cone. I'm personally pulling it because I like everything about that light cone, because that light cone can be used on more than just him, especially towards the future, the same way that Topaz's light cone can be used on more than Topaz for these follow-up hunt type characters. So I feel like we're gonna get another hunt with follow-up attack characters or whatever eventually, but right now Baptism is definitely his best one. Only Silence Remains is like a small percent drop, right? 100% uptime with the imaginary damage orb, S5. Personally, I'd probably still go with Silence Remains. Maybe if I had it, I might do that, but it's just because the condition for your crit rate is instant. There's no like, oh yeah, you need to have 50% lower enemies, whatever. It's instant. The only thing that sucks about Silence Remains compared to everything else is there needs to be 2 enemies on the field. 2 enemies or less, and it sucks. And then obviously in the night is going to be towards the bottom, right? One of his worst light cones to be able to equip that with. And I already explained why earlier on. They actually did a lot of work on this. I'm impressed. This is really nice for what they have. And they've got character specific assumptions down here. They even have the light card, the light cones, the relics over here. Wow. Yeah. Genius obviously is going to be the best one because Genius and Quantum. Wastelander, Musketeer, though, two-piece Musketeer, 2-piece follow-up, 4-piece Wastelander is getting 111%. Interesting. Okay. This is interesting. I'm definitely going to come back and look at all this stuff and see what we have. Yeah. See, and this is why I think, okay, that's a whole different video on like why I think Wastelander isn't his best in slot, but whatever. Anyway, point being, if you're looking for what to do with ratio and if it's mandatory to get his light cone, I don't think him being free equals it's mandatory to get his light cone, but I do think that his light cone is so juiced and you're getting him for free that if you were already planning on pulling for ratio, or you're a ratio main, or you're so like, I love ratio, he's gonna be my favorite character, I can't wait to use him with Topaz. I always say this: if something is your favorite to play or your favorite character, whatever, treat that character right. Give ratio his signature light cone and you won't regret it. However, do you need to do that? Probably not. If you have Topaz's light cone, go for it. If you don't, because you're more like along the lines of free to play, S5, Silence Remains, and cruising in the Stellar Sea are going to be your best options outside of whatever else you could possibly get. They are conditional though, and playing with these conditions is something that unfortunately a lot of free-to-play players just have to deal with, right? You have to accept the fact that you have these conditions that you need to fulfill in order to get the maximized effect of your light cone or relic set, things like that, mostly light cones. And it's not like the end of the world if you can't fulfill these conditions. I'm sure you guys are still able to clear it, but it just makes it that much harder for you, where if you did have a signature light cone or a 5-star light cone, oh, okay, cool, I just get a raw damage stat increase and I get 2 to 3 extra buffs or debuffs or status effects applied to my character by just having this light cone at S1 versus here's my 4-star or 3-star S5 light cone and I have to fulfill a bunch of conditions to get a quarter of what this signature light cone is giving me right now. That's all it is. Did they do this on purpose? Probably. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Probably. I don't know, because I don't look at the L word. So I don't know if this light cone has been this strong the entire time. I have no idea. Y'all can tell me in the comments down below. But regardless, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I gave you a lot more information this time compared to what I normally do. And that's literally just because it was available for me to have. I'm streaming. If you made it to this video, I'm streaming by the time you watch this. So come through, have fun, all that fun stuff. We're pushing for partner. And I think I can get it. I think I almost have it. Guys, this is like a crazy thing right now. But whatever. I can't say my user outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. If you want to see more content revolved around me having fun with the game or Ron May, even the tier list that we just did yesterday, you guys had so much that tier list got a lot of positive reception yesterday. I'm blown back. Thank you. Smell you later.